In the last video, I purchased and used every single alcohol marker in existence. I set up an epic elimination bracket and pitted all of the markers against each other, and in this video, I am going to finish what I started. It's the return of marker. Obviously, this is not every marker. It's almost every marker, but it's not every marker. Some were out of stock and some did not ship to Australia. And we did everything we could to get every marker. So the way I see it is if you weren't going to ship them to me within a period of 5 months of trying desperately and willing to pay extra to get your marker, you do not deserve to be a contestant. The other thing I need to point out is there's a little bit of rejigging here. That is simply because originally Trio and Pro marker were in this bracket. I've moved into that bracket, and I'm sure this is probably something that elimination brackets do, or maybe they put more thought beforehand into how the initial brackets are set up. There were a couple of markers I had a feeling that should be finalists, if they were in that bracket, would compete too early. And I want to keep this exciting towards later in the video. So make sure you stick around till then. I'm also going to announce the winner of the Switch Lite from the comments competition in the last video. I'm holding it upside down. But if you entered and missed out on this thing, have no fear, because I have something that might cheer you up. In this video, that's right. I do like a good goodie, but giving away a goodie. I do like giving away good goodies, and just like in the last video, I'm gonna be hiding a $50 Amazon gift card code later in this video. Now, we get a bit sneaky with this, so you have to pay attention because we like to play tricks. And of course, if you want a chance to win any of these goodies in future videos, make sure to be subscribed and have your notification bell rung so you can get in early and nab them. Now, we're gonna move pretty quickly. I know I've used them all. I've filled in all of these things that I know what they feel like to use, so it's not gonna be as time consuming to figure out what should progress. So I'm gonna share my thoughts briefly over the next round, but really it's gonna get more interesting later in the elimination bracket. Now, my approach in testing these markers and pitting them against each other was basically to put the sheets that I'd carefully filled in over 4 days previously and compare them directly. Now, some of you in the comments of the last video asked what those numbers next to the different sections were. They were like my personal impulsive scores out of 10 for each of the categories. Every now and then I had to try things out in person a little bit more. For example, the Copic Chow and the Spectrum Noir were pretty tricky to choose between, but at the end of the day, the ink quality of the Copic was just too good, as were the brush tip and the chisel tip, as opposed to the brush and bullet tip. All in all, it was pretty straightforward to come to the conclusions of the next round. And it's at this point, I think we have a pretty clear and solid lineup. And it's from this batch that we're gonna find out semi-finalists. Before I think that's right. I've never done this before. Can you tell? Of course you can. The intent of this video is to find the best marker, and that's where this next round takes us. All right, now the fights are heating up. Prismacolor Premier Brush versus Ohuhu. The Prismacolor Premier brush markers come in a bit of a cardboard box packaging with plastic holding insert things that hold the markers. The marker quality themselves, while good in practice, are in a user experience sense not that great and don't feel that premium. Now, while the quality is great, then we come to the price per marker, which comes to $3.25 if you get the full set of 196 colors. The Ohuhu markers, on the other hand, at just under $100 for 120 markers, the user experience of these markers was better, although it lacks any sort of labeling on the body of the marker themselves as to what the color is. So that's a real problem when it comes to user experience. But the packaging, I mean, it comes with a case that's usable. You could certainly use this in the long term if you get a full collection. The quality is fantastic. At 82 cents a marker if you get the full set, these are incredibly high value. So this round goes to the Ohuhu. Next, we have Copic Classics coming up against Artmark. Now, this was obviously going to lean in the direction of Copic because it's Copic. First of all, to get the full set of 216 classic colors will cost you $1,725. However, the user experience of the marker is just reliable and good. If you get the full set of colors, it's going to cost you close to $8 per marker. Art markers, on the other hand, are, I think, a Walmart brand. There isn't actually a brand name or even company name on the marker packet, and you can get a maximum of 18 markers at $18 for the full set. Not super high quality user experience, horrible packaging, and at $1 per marker, I put the value at about 65%, but as you can imagine, this one goes to Copic. Now, the face-off between Pro Marker and Premier Sketch. Pro Marker really impressed me in the initial round, but I only had 4 markers, so we raced off to the city to buy a pack of 12. The packaging is crap, you can't really use it. But the actual quality quality of the pigment, I believe, is the best of any of the markers so far. Premier Sketch markers have, I believe, a limited range of 48 markers and at about $100 for that set. The packaging is usable, but not great. The quality of the markers is pretty good for what you pay for. Overall, though, I think Pro Marker really is the one that's going to serve artists in the longer term and be something that people can build on, no matter what level they're at or where they go to. So this one goes to Pro Marker. Now, Copic Chow versus Studio 71 was interesting because Copic Chow had the upper hand when it came to range. The user experience of these markers is really good. It's streamlined, they're simple, they're light, they're small but not too small. Copic Chows are fantastic and I've valued them at 80% simply because still $6 per marker is a lot even for the budget range of Copics, where Studio 71 costs, $75 for 48 colors. The user experience of them was pretty comparable. The quality of the markers overall really stood up quite well, especially considering it costs about $1.56 per marker. However, you're capped at 48 colors and there's a lack of potential for you to take your art to a much higher level. At the end of the day, this one goes to Copic Chow. Now, Blick had the challenge of facing up against Copic Sketch markers. You can get 95 colors in the range of Blick Studio, which will set you back $209. At $2.20 per marker for the whole collection, this holds up well. Now, the Copic Sketch is, as you know, extremely expensive. $2,876 for the full set, but a full set of 360 colors, which is just beyond substantial. The user experience of these things are just so hard to beat. And the quality of the marker, the nibs themselves combined with the build quality of the marker and the way they are just perfect for all use cases is just fantastic. Now, they are $8 per marker. That's expensive. So that brings the value down, but the quality and the range is so substantial and professional that I can't help but just put this one at 90% in value, which puts Copic Sketch above Blick Studio. Now, Crayola versus Artify. This is an interesting one. At $32 for the collection of 14 colors, the user experience of the markers is fantastic. They feel great. The brush tips are absolutely gorgeous to use. However, with a maximum of 14 colors in your range and at $2.35 a marker, that brings the value down to around a 70%. Where Artify has a maximum of 79 colors, where it costs you $58 to get the full range. The user experience is less exciting, even though you have 2 tips on this marker as opposed to the one on the Crayola. Both tips are underwhelming. They feel like pretty cheap tips. And at 73 cents a marker, that's really valuable. So I've put their value at 70%. Now, if this were prioritizing price, I would give it to Artify, but simply because Crayola is so professional in the way they go down, the experience of using that brush tip, it does the one thing so well, I'm gonna give this one to Crayola. So this is it. We have it. The final 8. Now this is cool because not only have we tried every marker and come to some sort of objective decisions here, but the final 8 are brilliant markers. They are all very, very good quality. This is great. Round of applause for all the final 8, and also a moment of silence for our fallen comrades.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine, and you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never.
So I'm going to come to some decisions now and pick the final 4. All of these are going to be so difficult to pick from. So Copic Classic versus the Ohuhu, or is that, I don't know how to pronounce that, if it's like Ohuhu. No, it's not. It's not that. The numbers are pretty close. We have an 85% value of Copic Classics to a 90% value of Ohuhu. On top of that, the inks of the Ohuhu and the brush tip felt better. Plus, I'm going to be a little skewed against Copic because later we have Copic versus Copic. So Copic's going to win something. So we're just going to go with Ohuhu for this one. Next, Pro Marker versus Alpha Brush. I guess if we were summarizing this, aside from the Pro Markers having crappy packaging, the user experience felt better. Price per marker is cheaper if you're getting the full set, and there's a lot more colors. So, Pro Marker. All right, Copic Chow versus Copic Sketch. Copic Sketch has a bigger range, they feel better in the hand, they are designed much nicer. I don't think anyone watching this is surprised that Copic Sketch is one of my finalists. Art Deco versus Crayola. Even though it's really limited in color range, Crayola are very clean and very pretty. Easy to be accurate with. The brush tips feel right up there with the Ohuhus, like really quality. I don't know, frankly, how much the color limitation is a problem, which is actually why I want to take it through to the final four to see if the children's brand can play with the big boys. Let's give them a shot at the finals. And after all of this, there will be one marker left standing. Go! Now, I've gotten to know every marker over the course of more than a week, and these are the four that I've gotten to know most intimately over that course of time. So I thought it would be most fun to show off their skills with an illustration representing what I feel is the personality for each of these markers. So in the match between Pro Marker and Ohuhu, I drew the Pro Marker character as a, I guess you could say, sort of a graphic design connoisseur, someone pretty trendy and really into high quality and very, very sticklery. Has a lot of attention to detail, a little more niche and a little more expensive, but certainly has a well-earned reputation and a good sense of style. The Ohuhu markers, which are new to me but not to a lot of you who've watched that first video, is like the artist that seems really fun and carefree and really eccentric. It seems at a surface level easy to underestimate because they're accessible and approachable. However, you best be taking them seriously because there is some serious quality in this marker. So first, the Pro Marker. These markers have a fantastic color and strength when you put them down. They're really sharp, really crisp, they blend beautifully, and everything that you work on them with ends up having a really crisp air to them if you know how to use them. Now, where their downfall is frankly the aesthetic of the marker themselves. I really don't like that paper wrap around the marker, and they just feel a little slower to swap between and use. I don't know what it is, but the user experience of the markers themselves feels just a little withdrawn. With that said, they're a phenomenal marker and a well-deserving finalist. Now, the Ohuhu, like I said, they were a surprise to me when I started all of this, and they really came out of left field. The brush tip feels phenomenal. One of the best brush tips I've ever used, even up there with the Copics. Though there is less color range in the Ohuhu than in some of the most professional varieties, there is still a pretty bloody big range, and the colors themselves are very vibrant. They mix really well, but I think the most exciting experience of the Ohuhus, aside from their affordability, is the fact that they feel really fun to use. They're playful, and yet if I were working on commission work or some really serious design pieces, these markers hold up as good as any and better than most. They are fantastic quality for the price, and even if budget wasn't your biggest consideration, their quality alone carries them right up to the end. Boy, is it a match. As you can see, both get some fantastic results, but the Ohuhu are more vibrant. You can get more contrast with the mix of colors you get, and the total value of all of the Pro markers I own, which are now like 16, will have bought the entire collection of Ohuhu and more, with the results that are almost identical and extremely comparable, and an experience that is far more enjoyable. Ohuhu wins. So I drew the Crayola markers as a little kid running around having fun with art and creativity. The Crayola markers, they look really clean. The inks and the blend are just so neat and pretty, and yet the limitation of the colors is just a brick wall that I've smacked into, and that is a significant hindrance. The Copics, on the other hand, I mean, if they were a personality, they would be the established designer slash artist slash architect. He's a little bit old-fashioned because he's been the same for so long, but he hasn't had to change because at the end of the day, people will pay for what he has to offer. And he knows it, cheeky bastard. Look, it's obvious I am a big fan of the Copic sketch, and frankly, I've relied on them for the last 7 years of this YouTube channel, so you guys are pretty familiar with that by this point. And the most amazing thing is that they are so reliable and that there is such a broad range that you really can do anything with them, but they are just so damned expensive. But at the end of the day, Copic is reigning supreme for some very serious reasons. But I think to summarize my point, this is the entire range of Crayola alcohol markers. That is the biggest pitfall with this marker. This is barely over half the range of the Copic sketch markers. So the obvious winner is then Copic sketch. And this is it. This is the final face-off. Frankly, I actually think these illustrations represent these markers pretty bloody well. So only one wins. And I'm gonna tell you the honest truth. My opinion is that Copic wins, but my answer would have been different if I went through this whole process, let's say 6 or 7 years ago, simply because the barrier to entry for Copic Sketch is huge. And if you're looking for the collection of markers that is going to take you the furthest soonest, it's going to be the Ohuhus. However, at the end of the day, the reason I'm giving this to the Copic Sketch is because when you hit the limit with what the Ohuhu has to offer, which will come into play if you're working professionally, if you need to refill your markers, or if you're needing some more nuanced colors and mixes, the Copic Sketch are always going to end up coming out on top. Speaking of winners we're all very excited about, the winner of the brand new Nintendo Switch Lite, which I said is up for grabs in the last video, is Heidi Moy, who picked all of the 4 finalists they ended up working with, and the winner chicken dinner of Copic Sketch. In this video, we have a Galaxy Tab A up for grabs. So leave your comment in this video, and it could be which marker you would have picked to be the winner. It could also be why you agree or disagree with my winnings or choices. Leave a comment and make me feel something and move me. And of course, if you missed that hidden $50 Amazon gift code, it's going to be in the next video, as is another prize. And then in the video after that, and after that, because I'm kicking things up a notch if you can't tell. I'm really going to be putting a lot of effort and giving a lot back to you. If you're looking forward to getting involved in all of that, make sure you have your notification bell ticked. And if you're not subscribed, of course, be subscribed, because we're really getting this arty party started and it's going to be a lot of fun. Please, if you did enjoy this video, I would sincerely appreciate you hitting that like button, because it lets YouTube know that you liked it and might share it with someone else. It might help. Otherwise, I had a blast. I mean, blasts are explosive and not always painless, but they're dramatic and they're certainly fun to watch. So I hope it's been that for you. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And until next time, I'll see you later.